I'm not that good at this game. You can see my previous videos on Dark Souls 3 and you can tell that I've barely mastered this game. To make things even worse, I'm getting rustier at it. So I've decided to make a build that completely trivialized the game by using magic and stealth. Yes, there is indeed stealth in this game. For the gear that I'm using, just expect all the top tier equipment, sorceries, incantations, and Solar Strike Sword. The only spell that I didn't get at the start of the New Game Plus playthrough is the Dark Blade incantation because I forgot to talk to her in my preparation. Also a little bit of disclaimer, just like what I said earlier, I'm pretty rusty at this point, so expect a lot of blunders at the earlier bosses because I'm sharpening my muscle memory as I progress in the game. Here's the tutorial boss, Udix Gundyr. Okay, because there aren't many things to say about this boss fight, I think this is a great chance to explain the later segments of this video. Just a little spoiler, I basically made a little documentary I guess about my experience using this build on some areas and bosses in this game. If you are interested in my overall thoughts about this build or if you are only interested in certain boss fights, feel free to use the timestamp and jeopardize the analytics for this video. And there goes the tutorial boss. Anyway, the actual insane thing that makes this setup trivialize the whole game, which is stealth. Using the Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring and the Hidden Body spell will make you invisible. No one can hear you or see you unless you do something stupid. The Hidden Body spell is so powerful, you can cast a spell near an enemy and they won't discover you. So now, the surrounding enemies in the game are no longer a threat to you, which leave the bosses and, well, your stupidity as the only threat. Anyway, here's Vordt. The right spell buff that you should apply here is the Dark Blade, but lightning is all I have. One thing that you should know about New Game Plus in this game is that every boss is on steroids, so do not underestimate them like what I'm doing now. After killing Vordt, I decided to head over to the boss from Elden Ring Nightreign. I think it's really cool that it made a cameo in this game. Right off the bat, I forgot that you should always stay and dodge in the direction of her ass throughout the fight or else this will happen. The Dancer is actually one of the most difficult bosses in this game, but the amount of health that she has completely trivialized this fight. The next boss is Osiris. I used lightning as Gwyn intended. Also, in case if you're wondering why I didn't use any ranged spells so far, it's because I wanted to show you just how versatile this build can be, even if you're on New Game Plus and completely rusty at this game. If you want to fight them honorably, you can do it, and if you want to fight them like a coward, you can do it as well. Next up is the Champ. This is the first boss where I used the OP Sunlight Spear.
That's a lot of damage!
I think the tutorial Gundyr would have died in a single hit with this setup. Anyway, goodbye Gundyr. This leaves the only two bosses left in Lothric Castle, which is the Dragon Slayer Armor and the Lothric Princess. For me personally, I think the real boss in this area is actually the area itself. At first glance, the enemies in Lothric Castle are basically the same as the ones from the High Wall of Lothric, but the thing is, they are much more powerful, tankier, and they are also placed more strategically to end your life. However, I'm using the Coward Bundle, so the only threat here is the Dragon Slayer Armor. Weirdly enough, the boss is weak to fire. I guess the Dragon Slayer used to be a Chad that liked to put himself in a tactical disadvantage. After slaughtering all of the bosses in Lothric except for the princess themselves, I took a visit to the the undead settlement. I talked to Yo this time to get access to Yuria, the person that sold the Dark Blade incantation. To get Yuria in the Firing Shrine, you need to die until you look like a zombie, so let me do it real quick. I finally turn into a zombie, talk to Yo, and use all of her level ups. When you reload the area, Yuria should be here. Unfortunately, the spell resides in this divine tome, so you need to give it to a witch, or you can also give it to a priestess if you're a scumbag. This is the start of the boring part of Dark Souls 3. I don't really care that much about this part of the game. I think it is the least interesting part of it, so here's a short montage of me beating some of these bosses. Here's the tree and, the Crystal Sage. Oh yeah, the Cathedral of the Deep. Again, this is pretty similar situation with the Dragon Slayer Armor, where the area is actually more challenging than the boss itself. But with this build, you don't need to deal with the Exploding Bastard. Usually, every time I went through this door, there was always explosion behind my back. But because I'm using stealth, it's eerily quiet. It's a really weird experience. Here's the Deacons. This is the fight that is a wake-up call for me to take some of these new game plus fights more seriously. I've played this game for 100 hours, maybe more, and I've never known that the Deacons can heal themselves. After the Deacons were defeated, I went to the Abyss Watchers. Finally, just an interesting fight. The Abyss Watchers are weak to lightning, so I used the Sunlight Spear again. As expected, it deals a lot of damage. For some reason, they don't avoid this attack, not that I'm complaining. In the second phase, the Abyss Watchers can dodge the spear. I think the total amount of IQ from the Fallen Watchers are combined to this one Watcher. The safest way to use the Sunlight Spear without trading hits with the boss is to use it as, the Watcher used the slide attack. Just wait for the right moment and beat it. Before I continue, let's get some drip, and yeah, look how good it looks in this Volnir cutscene. Now I'm in Irithyll to get to Aldrich. Before we get to that abomination, however, we get a chance to fight what I consider to be one of the top tier bosses in Dark Souls 3. Solvan is one of the special bosses that is weak to critical attacks, so parry is the way to go. I'm not dealing with Solvan's anime combo. That was almost a perfect fight, but I got really greedy. The next section is the Silver Knight Archers. They are not as brutal as their predecessors from the first game. To be honest, you don't really need to use stealth for this section, but once again, I just find it crazy that no one noticed at all. The next fight was supposed to be Yorm, but for this video I put the Aldrich fight first. Good old cat and mouse chase fight where the roles constantly switch. I don't have any special tricks for Aldrich, it's basically just the Crystal Sage, but more annoying. Just survive the bullet hell. Okay, final Lord of Cinder before Waffle. For this fight, to make it interesting, I didn't use the Storm Ruler and utilized spells instead. At first, I used the Sunlight Spear for this fight, just as Gwyn intended. But I noticed that the damage it deals was lower than what I had expected. This is because it registered as a normal hit without the bonus weak spot damage that you would get for hitting Yorm's head. For the second attempt, I used Crystal Soul Spear Sorcery, as already intended. As expected, it works. This also explains how Vendrick conquered the Giants. This is canon. It's in the lore. All jokes aside, not using the Storm Ruler and not relying on Sigurd's help actually helped make this fight a lot more interesting to me. Oh god, Sigurd is probably dead. Using a Storm Ruler would make Yorm get staggered pretty easily, so you wouldn't see Yorm's full moveset. I found it funny that this mediocre gimmick fight would be more interesting if you jeopardize yourself. After defeating Yorm, I went back to Irithyll Dungeon to free Carla. I gave the Divine Tome to Carla and finally bought the Dark Blade. Next up, the Twin Princes. My god, I went blunder throughout the fight. If you're a spellcaster like me, you can exploit this fight by using Sunlight Spear or the Crystal Soul Spear. The latter is actually better for the second phase, but it didn't come to my mind when I fought them. The Twin Princes are my favorite boss fight in Dark Souls 3. I hated that I went to under on this attempt. At the very least, my muscle memory kind of kicked in during the end of the fight and I beat the boss. Before we face the Soul of Cinder, I went to the Archdragon Peak. Here's the Ancient Wyvern. This is a gimmick boss where you have to bypass all the enemies in the area to get to the high ground. And as usual, stealth completely trivialized the challenge. Now, it's time for the other cameo boss from Elden Ring Nightreign. Oh come on, I'm already dead. Okay, let's retry the fight. For the first phase, as usual, do it as Gwyn intended. For the second phase, use any dark or bleed damage. There are two ways to deal with the Nameless King. You can play it safe but slow by using ranged weapons, or quick but risky like this. Whenever the Nameless King uses this attack, you can simply look away from him and use the time to buff yourself. The weight attacks are my weakness, but because of my experience in Elden Ring, to be more specific, my experience with Margit and Mo, I got used to it with countless trials and errors. Nameless King is way more unforgiving than the Omens, but you know, he literally kills you in 2 hits, so it's pretty difficult to adapt and learn to his moveset because of the lack of tolerance for mistakes. But just like what I said before, I got used to it. This is the type of boss fight where you can either cheese it or just get good at it. Next up, the final boss, Soul of Cinder vs Soul of Cinder. Let's see who's the fraud. Soul of Cinder has one of the most difficult moveset to learn, but because of the amount of damage that it deals, not that much, not many people would realize how difficult the fight really is. In the first phase, the weapon that the Soul of Cinder would use could vary from the Great Sword, the Lance, the Stab, and worst of all, the Curved Sword. Luckily, it only used the Great Sword and the Lance when I fought it. In the second phase, the Soul of Cinder on which is in a Gwyn, we trade lightning to each other, and based on the damage, I think we all know who's the fraud here. Next up, we tank each other's Sunlight Spear, and obviously the fraud dealt no damage to me. Finally, we finished it almost like an anime, but the fraud decided to ruin the moment by dodging at the right moment. Alright, overall, this is probably one of the best builds I've ever created in this game. Just the existence of the hidden body spell is more than enough to trivialize the whole game. Except for the bosses, of course, and it actually only needs 15 intelligence skill points. If I was to make a minor adjustment to this build, I would probably allocate some of the skill points from intelligence to either strength or dexterity. Don't get me wrong, you can get access to a lot of amazing spells if you spend your skill points on intelligence, but most of the bosses in this game are weak to faith related incantations, so it is probably wiser to spend it to faith or any other skills instead. This will be more apparent in the DLC, and speaking of the DLC, that will be the second part, so stay tuned, and goodbye. Thank you for watching.